How is it March? How's it March? I need somebody to explain time to me because I don't know how it's March. We're already 3 months in to 2025. Think that's crazy. I can't even tell you what's happened this year, but it's felt both slow and fast, and I actually feel like that's typically how time works. Anyways, we're gonna move on. Hello, book besties, and welcome to my channel. I'm Maddie, and today I'm gonna talk about some books. So, today I have a coffee, and look, it's in a jar. We went to this little sustainable coffee shop today. When I say we, ever, I mean me and my roommate, if you haven't caught on to that by now. But we went to a little sustainable coffee shop, and they give their coffees in these little jars, and I was brave enough to try one of them because I'm typically not. If you don't know, I don't really share this often. You guys probably don't know. I have celiac disease, which basically means that anytime gluten enters my body starts to attack itself. It's really bad, and I'm super sensitive. So I don't typically eat out or go out much unless I'm like at least 95% sure it'll be safe. But we went to this place and they seemed pretty knowledgeable about everything. So I got one and I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I'm actually like feeling pretty good about this. Like, I've had this much and I don't feel like dying. May have found a new coffee shop. It is expensive, but I could always like bring this back. Although I did put a sticker on it. I put stickers on everything. This is totally not relevant to the video, but I just thought I'd share. This is my drink of choice. It's a vanilla latte. I went pretty basic. There's a little bit about me. I will now start talking about February. I survived February. It's like one of those I survived books, but it's me with February. So I did end the book. End the book? Wow. My life really does surround books. I ended the month kind of ill. Like I said, I have celiac, and I think sometime last week-ish, I had gotten exposed to some form of gluten because I was ill this last week. It was really bad. Or okay, it could have been worse, actually. It really wasn't too bad. Still not a happy time. So I ended February kind of physically and mentally ill, which is always just rough. But I do have some exciting news. I have been accepted as a brand rep for Gigi and Bo. I will link their Instagram down below. They have the cutest bookmarks and stickers. They have a couple of other random things like rug coasters and a few sweatshirts or tote bags, but they mainly surround bookmarks and stickers. And she actually just had a drop on February 28th. It was her spring drop, so she just has a whole bunch of stock now on the cutest things and some new releases, and I am now a brand rep for her. So if you want to use my code Maddie10 at Gigi and Bo, you can get 10% off, and it would make me really happy because I'm just so excited to be able to do this. This is my first program that I've been accepted into. I've applied to so many, and I've finally been accepted. So I'm so happy, and you should go use the codes. The bookmarks and stickers are typically around $4 each, and you can get 10% off. So I think you should go use that opportunity to stock up on some really cute stuff. Now I'm gonna stop yapping about that and actually start yapping about books because that is what we are here for. So let's take a drink of this cute little jarred coffee and talk about some books. So I read 10 books this month. This is the best reading February I have ever had. Typically, I don't know why, but February is always really slow for me. Like last year I read 3 books in February, but this year something broke through because I locked in and I read so much. So I can't wait to dive into these with you. And also, I do have my first 5-star read of the year in this video. So, I'm so excited. I started off the month with Jujutsu Kaisen volumes 17 and 18, which is Perfect Preparation and Fever by Geiji Akutami. These are manga. They take place in kind of like modern day, but in this world there are curses that like ordinary people can't see but can still be affected by and killed by. And so these jujutsu sorcerers are made to protect people from them. And there's just like a lot of things happening in this world, and it's crazy. My favorite thing right now, though, is that I have officially surpassed the anime that I've seen. So now I'm reading like all new stuff. It's so much fun. I cannot wait to be utterly broken by this, and I'm just super excited. So I don't typically rate my manga, so those I leave unrated, but I did borrow these from my library, so I read them physically and then just returned them. So those are the only JJK volumes that I read this month. I do need to get back to it, but that is what I started my month out with. And then I read Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett, and I read this on my Kindle. I've actually spent like the entire month of February staring at my Kindle, but it's fine. So I read Emily Wilde, Map of the Otherlands, and I rated this a whopping 2 stars. This is, I think, the first 2-star of the year. Not the last in this video either. The Emily Wilde series follows Emily Wilde, and she is an academic in the world of fae. And so in the first book, she's trying to write a encyclopedia of fairies, which takes her on a crazy adventure, and she gets dragged into the world of fae a lot deeper than she has in the past. And then the same thing kind of happens in the second book, except this time she's trying to create a map of the Otherlands, and she gets dragged into the world of fae. This one with a little bit more meaning behind it because she is developing a relationship with somebody connected to that world. And I just was so bored reading it, and I had no connection to the characters, and I just really couldn't care less about what was happening. I hit the point in the middle of the book where I'm just like, dear God, let this be done soon, because I was just so bored. So that one was a 2-star. I do still enjoy the world, and I like how in each book she gets thrown into a little kind of community. She kind of makes some friends, and not really found family. Like, I'm not going to call it a found family because that would disgrace the name of found family, but I do think it does create a really fun dynamic that I obviously love. So I will give Emily Wilde credit to that. And so in that aspect, it gets another star added to the rating. But in general, don't like these books. And I think I am officially DNFing the series. So that means I can mark a series off my list. Because if you don't know, I'm horrible at starting series. But next, I read The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields, and this follows our main character, Marigold, as she discovers she is a honey witch. But the thing is, her line of honey witches is cursed to never fall in love. And so by accepting becoming a honey witch, she kind of swears off love, or at least like agrees to never fall in love or to act on that love, kind of. And what does she do but fall in love? And so she's falling in love with this grumpy woman, and a threat comes to her home as a honey witch, and she has to learn how to fight it off. I will say the pacing of this book did throw me off a lot. I do think the pacing could have been a lot better, and then I would have enjoyed it a lot more. With that being said, it still was a 3.5-star read. I still enjoyed it. I just felt so whimsical reading this. Like, it's such a cozy fantasy. Like, this girl is brewing potions with honey, and I'm like, I want to go brew a potion right now. Like, let me get my crystals and my essential oils and wear a long skirt and just brew some potions. It just made me feel so whimsy inside. And for that, I truly adored it. Like, the world and atmosphere of this book was just so magical, and I loved it. And it's a sapphic, grumpy sunshine story. And I do think their relationship developed pretty well. It started burning a bit quicker near the end than I would have liked. But I still did really enjoy it. Like I said, the main thing that threw me off was the pacing. I think in the beginning, I was really worried I wouldn't like it, just the way you just kind of dive into it, and you don't really see her journey developing as a honey witch, unfortunately, but that's also not the main premise of the book. I just think if it was paced or written a little bit differently, I would have really enjoyed it. But beggars can't be choosers. So I still really did enjoy this book, and I would definitely recommend it. Also, just look at the cover. She's so pretty. I'm going to move on now. Next, I read The Odyssey by Homer. I didn't rate this one either. I feel like rating classical epics are just kind of hard, you know, because It's like a good story, but obviously the writing is just like a little boring. And as always, the men just really make me mad in it. But that's like the case for pretty much every classic ever. So I read The Odyssey. It was for my class. I'm taking a classical epics class this semester, and it's been an interesting time. I am enjoying it. And so our first read of the year was The Odyssey, and like I said, it is a very interesting and iconic story. Honestly, when reading these epics, I'm like, Percy Jackson went there, which is so unserious for somebody who is currently studying epics, but it's fine. Thank you, Rick Riordan, for both making me love Greek mythology and ruining every Greek epic for me ever. So that is really fun, getting to see the places where Percy Jackson has adventured to. I will say, Odysseus makes me mad, as does every other man in this book. I read that. That was a time. I have nothing else to say. Then I read Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. If you want to see me read this, I actually have a reading vlog of it. It is my Finishing Unfinished Book Series Part 2. If you want to go check that out, 10 out of 10, definitely recommend. And I rated that 3.5 stars. Definitely not my favorite in the series, but it is up there with Heir of Fire. So I did enjoy it. It is the, fifth? I think the fifth. I think it's the fifth book in the Throne of Glass series. It follows Selena Sardathian, who is a slave in this labor camp, and she gets brought out to be the king's champion in this competition he's hosting because she's actually a world famous assassin. And let me tell you, by the end of the second book, that is no longer the plotline anymore because you just get all this other world building and character revelation, and you dive into a world of fae and magic. And it is decent. Not my favorite series. I'm not a die-hard Throne of Glass fan like a lot of people are. I just think that I am reading this older than I should have. Like, if I read this when I was younger, I would have been all for it, but that's fine. I'm reading it now. We're enjoying it. Empire Storms was honestly pretty good. I didn't care about two of the characters, like, at all, but the rest of them I really do love, and I just loved the ending. You get these characters coming together and you get this angst, and I just loved it so much. So I did really enjoy the ending. And then I did do the tandem read. So if you don't know, you're supposed to read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn like interwovenly together. So you read like a couple of chapters of one and then a couple of chapters of the other. It makes your reading experience so much enjoyable because they both happen at the same time but with different characters. So I did read Tower of Dawn as well, also in that reading vlog, and that one was a 2.5 because I hate Kale. I hate him. I literally can't. I thought he was going to redeem himself there for a little bit, and then he made me mad again. He just always plays the victim with the women in his life. And he also kind of uses the women in his life. And it just makes me really mad. But I love Nesrin. She's a queen. She could step on me. I loved the world building that Tower of Dawn introduced. It really dived into a lot of lore that you just didn't know about and has some really cool character connections from The Assassin's Blade, which is the prequel book. So I did really enjoy that, but I think Kale held me back from loving it so much, which is just a shame. But I read this on my Kindle as well as my next read, which is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I'm just gonna start like gushing and crying. That was my first 5-star of the year, in case you can't tell by my just pure joy and love. I loved that book. It is a sequel to Better Than the Movies, which definitely didn't need a sequel. Like, Better Than the Movies was written as a standalone. It is a whole complete story. But I am so glad we got a sequel, because this follows the two main characters from the first book, Liz and Wes, in college, except there has been a lot going on in their lives since we last saw them. Things aren't the same as we last saw them, and there is so much angst. And I love it. I love angst with a happy ending. It just gives me the warm and fuzzies. So, I'm crazy. That makes me sound crazy. I swear I'm fine. I'm fine. But I love Liz and Wes. And Wes, he's a king. He's just a precious, precious king. I love the depth of the characters that we get in this one, and I understand the problems that people have with this book because Liz and Wes are very different from when we saw them in Better Than the Movies. But it's been 3 years. They're gonna be different. It's just a fact. And yeah, it sucks that we didn't get to see them go through that development, but that's literally life. And I love how much it captures that. And just the struggles of going through college with life still happening around you and just all these things. And it's also crazy because they're 20 in it and I'm 20. And so I feel like that made me connect to it a lot more. And I just love Liz's friends that she's made in college. Like, I'm so proud of her for being able to make these friends that she didn't really have in high school. And I just loved getting to see it. And I really, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of her friend group. Like, seriously, I love them. And I could keep going on about how much I love them, but I won't because I don't think you guys want to sit here for that long. So we will move on, I guess. Next, I read another book on my Kindle. Surprise, surprise. And that was Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. This one was a 4-star read for me. I have just rated all of the Red Rising series 4-star. I think it's hard to really have a definitive rating. So this world is a very futuristic, like hundreds of years in the futures, we've kind of like moved out into space. So like people are still living on Earth, but there's people on like literally every other planet in the galaxy as well, and they just have their own lives and cultures. And there's also this hierarchy of people that kind of splits people into colored tiers. So gold is the highest and red is the lowest. They're pretty much the slaves to every other color. It follows a red as he gets turned into a gold and pretty much starts a revolution. And it is a really good series. I do think that sometimes it goes a bit over my head. Like, I kind of need Pierce Brown to talk to me like I'm dumb sometimes because I'm reading and I don't know what's happening sometimes, but it's fine. It's a very sophisticated science fiction book and world, and it deals a lot with war and politics, which is not typically my favorite thing, but I love the characters. I live for them. Severo, literal definition of a gremlin. Don't know what to tell you. I love him so much. I feel like Lightbringer is probably more of a 3.5, but it's just so hard because like they're just all the books just like go together in my head. So I really don't know. I might just leave it at a 4 and call it. But I very much felt like a filler book. Like, I'm not going to complain too much because I got a lot of amazing character interactions and was devastated by a character death, which Pierce Brown is one of those authors that doesn't give his characters plot armor. Like, everybody is up for death, and it physically hurts me. I just loved so much of the character interactions, especially with Lyria joining the crew and her interacting with Severo and Cassius just made my day. I loved it so much. So I really did enjoy that. Felt a lot of hatred as well with this one character who is just horrible. I hate him. I hate his POV chapters and I just hate him. But it does create like an interesting dynamic for reading the book as well, so I don't think that holds me back in my love for it. It's a really good series. I definitely recommend it, but you have to be in the mood to read it because it is heavy and difficult to get through sometimes. But I did read that one, and that did finish off a series for me. Unfortunately, this month I finished off one series and started two. So I've really made no progress on my series goal this month, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Next, I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. First off, just want to say, floppiness level, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Look at this. Look at that flop. It's so floppy, it was almost difficult to read. I really appreciate it. It's just such a fun time. Okay. I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I was very excited to read this. It was, unfortunately, a 2-star read. Okay, I guess a little bit more. This follows our main character, Clementine, or Emmy, a very cute name, I love it, as she moves back to her hometown after having an accident while racing in the women's rodeo circuit in Denver. It got very spooked by the accident, so she comes home, kind of is really down about it, and she kind of starts hanging out with her brother's best friend, Luke, and they obviously hit it off. And my favorite thing is that on the cover it says, "A sweet slow burn, sunshine in written form." And I'm like, what slow burn are you talking about? Because they start macking by like page 100. And they also had no chemistry. Everything in this book just felt so shallow. Every time something got like touched on, I needed them to dive a lot more into it for me to feel any emotion, and it just wasn't. It was just like mentioned, move on. And I think that hurt a lot of it, and I just really didn't like how shallow everything was. Which I know it's like an adult contemporary romance, like a lot of the times, like they're not going to be all that deep. But I've seen them be deep and dumb and funny. It can be done. And I don't mean like it needs to have a deep message. I just mean deep in feelings, man. Like, you guys are together because like this girl walked into a bar and he was like, hot. She's hot. Best friend, sister, I can't, but hot. We're gonna do it. And I'm like, okay. That's like literally the basis of his emotion. And then she's just there. So that made me really mad. And it made me struggle a lot through this book. Okay, I don't talk about smut a lot because like I'm not a smut girly. Like that's not what I really read books for. I don't typically read a book for the smut. Like I love reading adult romances that and they just happen to have smut. So I don't really talk about it, but we just need to talk about this because it was horrendous. Horrendous. What was that? Why? It was painful. It gave me the biggest ick I've ever read reading a smut scene. I don't really know what else to say. I'm not going to dive into the specifics. This is a PG channel, but I struggled so much with this book. I will say it is a 2-star because I did still enjoy the characters. Like I enjoyed the characters themselves, just none of them had really chemistry. And the family dynamics did throw me off, but they were a very cute family. I just hate it when they're like, hey big bro, hey little sis. What? Literally, so unrealistic. My brother is more likely to slap me in the back of the head than call me little sister. So I read this. I enjoyed the characters. I do want to read the other ones, which I know you're probably like, Maddie, why would you do that to yourself? But the next one follows Gus and Teddy, and they are introduced in this one, and I am just very curious to see how that goes. And then the third one follows Wes, and he was like my favorite character in this, so I have my reasoning, okay? And maybe they'll be better, because I know like with the Dream Harbor series, the first one has been my least favorite so far, but I really enjoyed the third. So maybe I just need to give it a little bit more of a chance. I hated that book. We're done. But that was all the 10 books that I read in February. I did start 3 that I have yet to finish. I will be finishing them like today or tomorrow though. I started Jason and the Golden Fleece by Apollonius of Rhodes. Apollonius of Rhodes. That follows Jason getting the Golden Fleece, obviously. I'm actually almost done with that. Literally, after I finish filming this, I'm probably going to go read it and finish that. Kind of sucks that I wasn't able to fit it in February, but it happens. And that one's also for my classical epics class, in case you couldn't tell. And then I started One Step Too Far. Wow. When I wrote it down, I got the title completely wrong. Don't know how that happened. I started One Step Too Far by Lisa Gardner. I can't wait to share my thoughts with that one, especially since it's the first mystery thriller I've read in a while, so I am very much enjoying that. And then I started The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. That one I have a little bit of mixed feelings on so far, only because in the beginning right now it feels a lot like Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Morano Garcia, and I did not like that book. So that's really throwing me off, but also Leigh Bardugo has never written a miss. So I'm hoping that it picks up and that I can enjoy it pretty soon. But right now I'm a little bit worried, but it's fine. I don't really have a March TBR or even hopefuls set up. I made a hopefuls list for February, and let me tell you, I did not even stick to that. Let's actually look. What was my February hopefuls? Yeah, I read 2 of them out of 6, which that's not bad. But I did not stick to really what I was planning on reading in February. I will say I'm hoping in March I can knock out some arcs because that needs to be done. I've only read 1 arc so far this year, and I've already fallen deeply behind, and it's just getting worse. So I want to do some reading vlogs this month to knock out some arcs. So I think after I finish One Step Too Far and The Familiar, I'll probably dive into some arcs. So that is that. I can't think of anything else to say, so I guess we are done. I would love to know what you guys read in February, what your favorite was, what your least favorite was, any thoughts, opinions, feelings, random thoughts or facts. I don't know. I like it when you guys comment. It makes me happy, so please do comment. That has brought us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, an amazing week. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe below. And I will see you all next week for whatever video. I don't know what I'm doing next week, I'm not gonna lie. So I guess we'll just figure that out as we go. Bye!